Did you know that I have a Discord server now? Yeah, that's right. Click the link below to join my Kirigami Discord server. There once was a man named Bradivicus47. He had a dream of testing talent of Rise of Nations YouTubers. His dream was fulfilled on September 5th, 2020 when the tournament's first round was started. Marzik15, now Marzik, would later dub this the Labor Day tournament. But little did he know how long it would go. After that game came round 2, where I was forced to go against Zion once again. Unfortunately, my 2 1v1s between me and Black got glitched and weren't able to be included. We're going to skip that part and head to round 3, or as I call it, pain and suffering. Kirigami advised me and said,
"Those boys are tank spammer, be careful."
In the first round, I was completely clueless to what he might do except tank spam. I focused more on Navy than I did land units. I tried to get a Navy to bombard his tanks while they were spawning, but I was too focused on the defense of my nation. I rushed Calcutta and burned it while 10k tanks were knocking at my doorstep.
FBI, open up!
As you know, China is pretty much glass, and when one single city falls, you lose 15 stability and you collapse like the Qing dynasty did. Unfortunately, I put all my factories in releasables, so I got into debt pretty quickly. And then what followed was a complete collapse of the Chinese force. But before we get into Game 2, here's a word from a YouTuber you probably may or may not know.
Subscribe to Gavin Does Ron.
Anyways, on to Game 2. During this game, instead of spamming just electronic factories, I decided I would get consumer goods, which helped me a lot in the long run. Learning from my mistakes, I decided to slow down on the Navy because I knew that China wouldn't have one, and even if he did, he would delete it because he's going to tank spam, which would ultimately drain his income. Because India doesn't have any releasables, which it should, low stability and war exhaustion didn't really seem like a problem. I mean, sure, my tax went down, but it was pretty unnoticeable. During most of our round, land shifts back and forth until China collapses. China dies. Once again. Now time for a final round. The one that will decide all. Trying to avoid low stability and debt, I decided to put all my factories in core cities. Knowing India wouldn't have a navy this time due to patterns, I focused more on land units, which benefited me a lot. I had more money to make tanks early, which was a deciding factor. India tries to make a defensive line home and to hold out and then auto-capture, but that plan went really wrong as he saw the amount of tanks I had. The defensive line gets destroyed in about 15 days and I was now on the sights of Delhi. Unfortunately, Delhi had a massive defense, so it was really hard to siege it. India decides to scorch to make my tanks suffer via attrition. A massive counterattack in Mumbai pushed me back to the border, but new tanks held the line and started to push back the Indians. Over time, his defense weakened and I was able to take Delhi after many casualties. I had moved on to round 4. In round 4, a bunch of new round changes were made. All 3 rounds would need to be done by that day and there was no time for training in between. In the first game, I spammed electronic factories like normal and began to build up a navy, capital fleet, a good general, you name it. Since battleships could practically destroy any ship in the game except for submarines, I decided to spam the living hell out of battleships. It worked actually. In this naval battle, my 10 ships were no match for his 20 to 25 ships. Italy now had undisputed naval superiority over the Mediterranean. Now, using the superiority, he was able to land in Catalonia and advance toward Madrid. Which worked actually, but he suffered some heavy losses along the way, so he had to make a new force. Game 1 was lost. Game 2 focused a lot more on Navy than I should have, and almost completely forgot about land units. The first minutes of the game were quite normal, spamming electronic factories and getting a decent navy. During the war, I only had 800 tanks, while Thailand had around 3,000 tanks. Fortunately though, I managed to defeat his navy pretty much composed of battleships. But that didn't undo my land loss. My land was now under Thai occupation. I lost game 2. Since these games were boring, me and Tabo decided to do a game 3, USA versus China. The host said if one of us wins, you'll win the entire tournament. This game was about 2 hours long, which meant that Tamo was getting pretty tired. Now, Tamo lives in Hong Kong, which meant that it would be 1 a.m. for him. Using my superior fleet, I got naval superiority around China, but I failed to invade China itself and my navy got weakened, taking out Chinese ships. Since my navy pulled out of the area to heal in Hawaii, China was open to create its own navy. China's fleet was heading to Hawaii and there was nothing I could do to stop it. China had amassed an impressive amount of around 80 ships and now he had a total superiority over the Pacific. The Chinese were heading to California and I had an idea. Artillery spam. I tried to stall the invasion by baiting my enemy with ships. The battleships and destroyers headed for Los Angeles and my submarines went toward the unit ship itself to weaken the infantry. Using that, I had enough time to get my artillery in place to bombard the infantry. It worked actually, but there was not enough time to rebuild my navy. I noticed a fleet heading toward Panama and got a submarine there. My plan was to hopefully not be seen and destroy the men on the ship. The plan had failed and I didn't lose a lot. The fleet was now approaching the canal and all hope was lost. They landed in Florida, so I scorched it and had another idea. Artillery spam. It ended up working temporarily, but it let troops regenerate, which led to the collapse of the United States. I may have lost round 3, but it was a good experience to say the least. I am friends with everybody who I went against, so please do not go hating on them. Merry Christmas everybody, and I'll see you guys later.